If your espresso shot looks bad, it probably is. Let me show you what channeling is and how to fix it so you can pull a better shot of espresso at home. Let's talk about what channeling is. Channeling is easier to see with a bottomless portafilter. That's a portafilter that doesn't have spouts on the bottom of it. Basically, it's been cut off, so all you see is the underside of your basket. Channeling will look like little jets of espresso spraying out of the bottom of the basket, almost like you're holding a garden hose and holding your thumb over the spout of it so it's spraying water out. So that's what channeling is. But why is it a problem? Well, channeling is an indication of inconsistent extraction. Whenever you're brewing coffee, what you're doing is extracting compounds out of the beans into a solution, and then you're drinking that solution. If you want your coffee to taste good, you need to have a balance of all the different compounds that are in that coffee, and you need to be in control of how those compounds are extracting. When you're brewing, water follows the path of least resistance. So if you have a crack in your puck or more coffee on one side or something like that, that's where the water is going to go. And the more water that goes to a certain section, the more extraction occurs there, which means that less extraction occurs in other parts of the coffee. This results in some coffee that is over extracted, and you're getting more bitter and burnt notes from that side of the coffee. And then the other parts that are under extracted are contributing more sourness to the final cup. So if you're pulling espresso at home and you're getting a mix of bitter and sour and it doesn't taste balanced and sweet, you probably have some sort of channeling going on inside your portafilter. If you don't already have a bottomless portafilter, this is a great tool to show you where your mistakes are so you can figure out how to fix them. If you've already got your grind size figured out, your brew ratios are good, your shot's pulling in a good amount of time, but it's just not quite tasting right, it might be time to look at one of these distribution methods. If channeling and those inconsistencies are a result of the water finding the path of least resistance, what we're trying to achieve here is even resistance across the bed or coffee puck. You'll often hear this described as puck prep. And that's what we're doing. We're prepping the puck before the water hits it so that it resists that water evenly and you get even extraction. There are a few ways that you can increase the consistency of your distribution. The simplest way and cheapest way to do it is just by tapping. If you take the portafilter in your hand with the coffee in it and give it a couple taps to the side and then a couple vertical taps, that will improve the distribution of the grounds and help increase your consistency. The next step that I would take would be another distribution tool, or a leveler, you'll sometimes hear it called. I don't think a leveler is a good term for a tool like this because you're not trying to just level the top. You're almost trying to massage the puck by spinning this around, and these blades shift the coffee around to improve the distribution and make sure the density and everything is even throughout the whole puck. Probably the most popular way of distributing grounds nowadays is WDT, or the Weiss distribution technique. Now these look like head scratchers, but these little needles actually act as a way of distributing the grounds and breaking up any clumps in the portafilter to try to achieve that even density so the water is met with even resistance while your shot is pulling. It took me a while to start using this method. It was only about last year that I started doing this consistently, but I've really noticed a difference in how my shots taste with this distribution method. Another way to improve the consistency of your distribution is getting a tamper that fits your portafilter better. You'll see these oversized tampers all over the place. This one is from LUCCA, and it is a 58.55 millimeter tamper. You would think that 0.55 doesn't make a huge difference, but if I compare it to this tamper, you can see it is just slightly larger. That slight difference in size means that this tamper leaves a small ring of untamped coffee around the outside of the basket. and that can lead to some inconsistencies. That being said, there are some downsides to these oversized tampers. If you do not achieve a perfect perpendicular tamp to the basket and it shifts slightly to the side, it can be hard to pull it out of the basket, and that can also crack your puck. That leads me to my next segment of issues that can cause channeling. Even if you prep your puck perfectly, you use WDT and a leveler style distribution tool, you tamp perfectly, you could still mess things up after that point. You might shift your tamper as you're pulling it out of the portafilter and crack the puck that way, or perhaps after you tamp, you go to put your portafilter in the machine and do one of these and hit the machine. That can create some shock waves and crack the puck. That's a different kind of tapping than what I did before. This is a softer kind of tapping that doesn't create those shock waves. But this hard metal against the machine, against your countertop, or God forbid, against the tamper, that'll create shock waves that will crack the puck and result in channeling. Next up in our ways to avoid channeling is activate pre-infusion if your machine has that. This Silvia Pro X does have programmable pre-infusion. You can do it up to 5 or 6 seconds. And what pre-infusion does is slowly introduce water at a lower pressure, sometimes with lower pump pressure or no pump pressure, and it's just the residual pressure in the brew pathway. This helps the grounds kind of get saturated and swell up more gradually before they're hit with the full pump pressure. If your machine has pre-infusion, what I recommend doing is pulling a shot with no pre-infusion and then turning it up to the max and trying to see the differences between those two styles. I do have to note that there's a difference between pre-brew and pre-infusion programming. A machine with pre-brewing will turn the pump on at full pressure for a few seconds, then turn it off for a few seconds, then turn it on to finish the shot. That is a different style of pre-infusion or pre-brewing, as I call it, and I don't think that works as well to avoid channeling as true pre-infusion does. After I recommend pre-infusion, a question I get is, how do I time my shots when I'm pre-infusing? Do I include pre-infusion in the 25 to 30 seconds, or do I wait until I start brewing to start counting that? And I don't think there's a definitive answer there. I always let my shots go for a little bit longer and try and target a longer brew time if I'm pre-infusing, maybe 30 seconds or a little bit more for a darker roast or more of a medium roast. But do what tastes good. Try it both ways. Try it with a finer grind size and a longer brew time or shorter brew time and see what tastes good to you. Do you have any specific espresso questions? Tell us in the comments if something's going wrong in your espresso machine. Tell us your espresso frustrations and we'll see if we can help you out. On that same note, we've been making videos like this for years. So we have a few dedicated playlists specific to common troubleshooting questions and helpful barista tips.